Okay, when I start this video, I have to leave around 2 minutes before I talk about subjects that might disturb people. That's part of the rules for YouTube. So I have to pick my way around things a bit carefully here. But I do want to tell you that I've spent a couple of rather depressed days thinking about a few things that this present government have mucked up so badly. I am just heartbroken about the state of my country. First of all, of course, there's still the case of Peter Lynch, because I just don't believe that in a crowded cell, in a crowded prison, a man could do what the official story says he did. I'm the things I can't say. So I don't know what they expect us to believe, but yeah, I don't know whether I'm more sad about that poor man than I am about the relationship between the people and the government, because it's quite obvious the government think we're all fools. Right, that's the first thing. And the second thing is what's happening with the budget, which you've got a picture here of Rachel Reeves. She's carrying her own bag, which is, you have to admit, unusual for the Labour Party. They get other people to carry stuff for them, don't they? Including tax burdens, because as I understand it, Keir Starmer's pension is non-taxable. That's how he negotiated it. I could be wrong about that. If I am, let me know. But that's the story I heard. Anyway, there's the farmers. Of course, I'm involved with farmers, so naturally I'm worried about what's going on here. But I'm also British, and as I said to somebody else, the English countryside is particularly vulnerable to catastrophic change when all the small farms are removed by her sort of taxation. However, I have to say I have been slightly cheered by a couple of bits of breaking news, which I'm going to share with you now. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. All right. So apparently farmers are going to get together and are going to try and do something about this taxation business. I believe they're going to hold some protests. That's not going to change the government's mind, but it is going to concentrate people's minds quite seriously. And there may be some backtracking on that if it's strong enough. I'm not talking about violent, but the farmers were never violent. I was on the countryside marches, and again, they were gentlemanly affairs, even when the police were trying to cause trouble. You could see that. I know about that of old. And then there's this, you see, because the government have decided to increase national insurance, which Rachel Reeves, let's have a look at her again. Rachel Reeves has this sort of socialist mindset by the looks of things, where they're the rich and the poor. And that's it. There's nobody in between. So national insurance has to be paid by the cigar-smoking, top-hatted capitalists. And I don't think she thinks any further than that. And now, you see, GP practices, we're back to the doctors again, and care homes are also caught in this national insurance rise, which I don't think she counted on. And these are the very people who were banging the drum for voting Labour, because Labour's for the working person. Labour is going to fix the NHS. Labour is against the capitalists and for the proletariat. And then they suddenly realise that they're the capitalists. And they're asking for exceptions as well. And bit by bit, all of this carefully constructed budget, which is supposed to be in this bag, which is being carried by Rachel Reeves herself. She's not got that from anyone else. they are going to ask for the watering down of this sort of thing. So she's going to have trouble from these people as well. But the most amusing bits of hopeful news is here. Because, you see, this chap is Ed Balls. He is a television presenter of some sort. Now, there was a bit of a fuss a little while ago because Ed Balls interviewed his own wife, Yvette Cooper, after the riots that were sparked after the Southport incident. And he asked her questions that sort of ran along the lines of, well, Miss Cooper, or Home Secretary, or however he addressed her, not wifey or darling or sweetheart or honey or anything like that. No, Madam Home Secretary or whatever he said. And then the questions ran along the lines of, these people who rioted, they're terrible people, aren't they? Is the government going to come down hard on them? And then Ms. Cooper, honey, sweetheart, or darling, however you like to put it, she responded, with this serious look on her face, yes, we are going to come down hard on these right-wing, far-right thugs. She used the same terminology as, what's his name? Der Stürmer. Anyway, so these two guys, you see, they know each other fairly well. And here's Ed Balls saying this: Reeves may not have thought the farmer tax raid through. He's saying that. He is saying that. Do you think he would be saying that if he hadn't got the say-so from his wife? I'm not talking about Yvette Cooper henpecking him or bullying him in any way, but they must have discussed it, obviously, unless they're not talking to each other. And they must have discussed the idea that he would put this out in public. They must have done. It's just not possible, unless they're not talking to each other, that this subject didn't come up. And the fact that he is actually putting it through says to me that Yvette Cooper is manoeuvring against Rachel Reeves. I mean, how much of an opportunity is this when your own husband is on a national television show? And this is really serious, family farms to be hit with inheritance tax. It means the farms are all going to be broken up. They're going to be sold off to property developers, or, as I said in the previous video, to conglomerates, international companies who are buying up huge swathes of land and turning them into monocultures, cutting down the hedgerows, merging fields, all in the name of commerce. Because that's how a commercial business works. You can't blame them for working in that way if they see 4 little fields with a hedge and a ditch between them. And that means you can't get the combine harvester, the enormous combine harvester, through the gateway. What's the thing to do? You cut down the hedgerows, you fill in the ditches, you actually stop the footpaths and rights of way, because you can, because you're powerful enough. And then you ship in these huge combine harvesters which can cut, what used to be half a field at a time, but you've got like 10 fields altogether. And that's what the inheritance tax is going to be doing to these small farms. I had a bit of, because I mentioned English farms, and I got somebody from Scotland who was really furious with me because I talked about English farms and not Scottish farms. Scottish farms are something else completely different. They're not the same sort of farms. I was talking about English farms because of the geographical and topological characteristics of English farms. Any results that might come from what will happen to Scottish farms are something else. And since I don't know that much about Scottish farms, I can't really talk about them. But yeah, he got very, very chippy about it. Chips on both shoulders. So, and yeah, I mean, it was funny, you know, like as if I have that much of an influence. I was talking about English farms, and he said, well, you didn't mention Scottish farms. I'll remember that next time the independence vote comes up. Right, if I were an MP, you might mention that. If I were an MP for Scotland, you certainly should. But I'm just some housewife sitting here in my attic expounding on the news as I see it. Really, sir, you know, calm down. There are enough substances in Scotland to calm anyone down. Why don't you avail yourself of one of them? They have excellent whiskey there, don't they? Oh, I'm getting really bitchy now, aren't I? Well, okay. You remember that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've just alienated somebody, haven't I? Should I cut that out? Well, let's see if I do. Anyway, Jeremy Clarkson, whose Cotswold farm is the subject of the Amazon Prime series, condemned the Chancellor's decision and accused the Treasury of shafting farmers. Shafting them? My goodness me, it's more than that. Shafting is the least of words that I would have expected from Jeremy Clarkson. Anyway, the point is, if somebody can do something about this, if there's some organisation that the farmers can come up with, because farmers are, as I've said before, independent people, and unfortunately, when you're that independent, you tend not to get together in mobs and masses, and it's more difficult to get your voice heard because there are all these different voices. But I'm hoping that Jeremy Clarkson can do something about this, and that's given me a little bit of hope to go to sleep tonight. But what's even more hope is Ed Balls saying out loud that Rachel Reeves might have got it wrong, because he wouldn't have said that without the say-so from his wife. And that means there's a power struggle going on in the Labour Party. And I'm really, well, amused about that. And okay, all right, perhaps I'm grabbing at straws. But when you're drowning, even a straw is a small comfort. Oh, by the way, what's this? A Halloween thing? And he's talking about news with this behind him? What's all that about? Oh, goodness me. All right, well, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.